Second video of the day, so good evening once again, you lovely lot. I couldn't leave this one, to be honest with you. It's that Graham Potter will be sacked if we lose against Crystal Palace. Now, there's no shock here for those of you that watched this morning's video. Thank you very much, very thankful that you did. For those of you that watched yesterday's video or the day before, I've been saying since we lost 3-0 to Tottenham that if Graham Potter lost against Crystal Palace badly, I think he'd get sacked. I don't know that, knowing the no stuff or anything like that. I just suspected it to be the case because I do believe that the board are going to have some survival instincts. I think that they are probably highly likely, because they're under so much scrutiny, to throw the manager under the bus if we lose against Crystal Palace, because obviously there's going to be protests, there's going to be a lot of media scrutiny on the board. We saw it a lot during Tottenham, didn't we? We saw the cameras kept on panning up to the director's box. I'll tell you what did make me laugh, actually. There was the story came out in the week that Kieran McKenna, if you remember, I did my video and I said at the start of the video, I said I can't discuss Kieran McKenna stuff just because I didn't believe it, and it wouldn't have been fair of me to waste 10 minutes of your time talking about it, basically. But the rumour was that he had attended the Tottenham game as a guest of the board. And when you read the report, it was saying he came dressed in like a hoodie and some jeans. It was all quite particular. It was all very specific. But one of the reasons I did find it unbelievable was that the camera kept on panning up to the director's box. That you saw David Sullivan, and I don't even know. Is it Mrs. Sullivan? I don't know. I don't know if they're married. I don't know. Not for me to say. He's had his hair done. Like I had my hair cut earlier as well. So David Sullivan had his hair done, and the camera kept on panning up to them. And I don't know how cold it was. Someone had a blanket over them as well. I wasn't sure it was that cold on Saturday, but anyway, the camera kept on panning up to them. There was no Kieran McKenna up there. Anyway, I didn't believe that he was up there, but I do believe that he will be sacked because I do believe the very same David Sullivan will look to deflect as much attention away from himself as is possible. And that's why I believe Graham Potter is highly likely to get sacked if we lose badly against Crystal Palace. Now, Hammers News have reported as much today. They've done an article, so I was not surprised to read that, basically saying exactly the same thing. So what we know is that Crystal Palace is a huge game. It's a massively important game, not just, by the way, for Graham Potter, not just for David Sullivan, not just for whoever was covering themselves in a blanket. So as they could hide, probably. Hide from the horror show. Probably a good place to be underneath the blanket. You didn't get to see all those corners that were constantly battering Graham Potter's defence. But actually for us, for fans, for the team, for the precarious position that we are in the league, yes, it's early, but by any standard, you do not want to be down there. You do not want to have the worst defence in the league, even if it is, after a handful of games. So yeah, very, very important game. I want to go through a few of the managerial links and then just that story that Potter is going to be sacked. Before I do, the Crystal Palace is a very important game. And if you are going to be betting on the game, then we've got a really, really good offer for you through our partners who are Boyle Sports. Of course, the shirt sponsor, West Ham shirt sponsor. Now, if you're going to do a bet builder, this is only on West Ham games, and this is only because of Boyle Sports tie-up with West Ham. We have arranged with them for them to give a 25% bet boost, 25% bet boost on a bet builder. That's 25% more winnings, basically, up to £1,000. But listen, if you get over £1,000's worth of bet boosted winnings, you're going to be quite happy with that, I am sure. The link is in the description below. Now, here's the important thing: if you're going to sign up to Boyle Sports, then make sure you use that link and you join via Hammers Chat, because you're going to get access to all this good stuff. Plus, you're going to get 40 quid's worth of free bets. All right. Now, to do that, you've got to deposit a tenner. Just so as you know, deposit a tenner and place a £10 bet. Could be your bet builder if you wanted, for example. Once that has paid out, then you get an additional 40 quid's worth of bets added to your accounts. Terms and conditions apply. Please do. Read the link in the description below. Bet responsibly. You've got to do that. And you've got to be an adult. No sneaky children trying to sneak and having a sneaky bet. That is not allowed. Links in the description below. Please do join via that link. So let's just have a little run through the targets, shall we? Because I do understand it is probably not the decent thing to be discussing Graham Potter's replacement. But I've already done a video this week about why statistically he is just terrible. Even just the statistics would explain why is highly likely to get the sack. You just can't carry on like that. But also, I think once you start getting more than one, I don't know, media outlet, if you want, leaking that he's in his last chance saloon, it becomes a story, doesn't it? If once they start, I don't believe the Kieran McKenna one, but once you start hearing that the board are negotiating with different managers, then okay, you would be aware that his replacement is being lined up, and we will know they will do that. I mean, Graham Potter himself was interviewed by the club when Lopetegui was in a job, right? We know that. We know that David Moyes was interviewed while Bilic was still in a job. We know that they do this stuff. So there's really no surprise here that they would be interviewing people for Graham Potter's job now. It's just the way football is. So, look, Kieran McKenna, I'd like to think we've dismissed that. And as somebody really explained to me, somebody in football explained to me really well yesterday, why would he go and ruin what is a promising, budding managerial career with West Ham? West Ham it's not seen as a safe place to further your career. In fact, it can damage your career. I would go to such an extent that this was a repair job for Potter. I think if Potter gets sacked from here with such a bad managerial record, I think you look at it and you say, okay, he did well at Ostersund's, he did well at Brighton, did not great at Swansea, did really poorly at Chelsea, did really poorly at West Ham. That's how it will be looked at. It's going to be. This damages his job prospects. I think it'd be really hard for him to get. He won't get another top-level job after this. He'd have to go and repair his reputation somewhere else, maybe go abroad again. So McKenna and almost any young upcoming coach of any ambition, it's not great. Let's not also forget that we don't have a recruitment department at all. We brought in Graham Potter's mate Carl McCauley to do recruitment. So whatever we think may or may not happen in January, I guess it all goes out the window anyway if we appoint somebody else. What are we going to do? This is why it was so stupid not to replace Tim Stuyton with a director of football. But it's just indicative of how badly and how unprofessional the club is run behind the scenes. But we know this. Jose Mourinho, well, that was never going to happen. No way. No way. Look, personally, I wouldn't. I'd be far from convinced that Jose Mourinho would work at West Ham anyway. I think I think there's a lot to suggest his best days are behind him. But even if not, a lot of people say, I'd like to see him, with David Sullivan. That would be a massive clash. Well, I guess from a sort of car crash point of view, it would make compelling viewing. But I'm not sure how healthy it would be for West Ham. And I certainly don't see Jose Mourinho coming in, throwing a tantrum and forcing David Sullivan out. I think ultimately Jose Mourinho would go again and he'd have a big payoff. So, yeah, I can't see that. He is probably not the person we need to bring a bit of stability to West Ham. That's not necessarily what we need. We need someone that could do a rescue job. Jose Mourinho? Nah, I don't think so. Frank Lampard? Well, I mean, are we going to spend any time discussing that? I've got to say, I don't believe all of these rumours anyway. So what I don't want to do is get offended and think, I can't believe West Ham are in talks with Frank Lampard. I don't think they are in talks with Frank Lampard any more than I believe West Ham are in talks with Kieran McKenna. And it's like I said with McKenna, West Ham are not the type of club. David Sullivan is not the type that goes out and sources a young upcoming manager. It's just not what they do. It's not what they do. I'll tell you this much now. If West Ham sack Graham Potter and we reappoint somebody else, whoever gets the job, it will be a very familiar face. I'm quite sure of that, right? So don't expect any young up and coming surprise manager who you haven't. I'm not saying you haven't heard of Kieran McKenna. Of course, we all have. We saw him last season, but no, not at all. Gareth Southgate. The trouble is, when you care so much about something, it clouds your judgment. I am so desperate not to appoint Gareth Southgate. I have no judgment on it. I'm just sat here thinking, that can't be true. Please, please, please don't let it be true. That's what I'm thinking. Please, please. That's all it is. It's me hoping, pleading, begging. I have no. I just can't imagine that would happen. Carrick, again, he is almost... There's less reason to appoint Carrick than McKenna. Yes, I know he played for West Ham, but McKenna has done more. I mean, what did John Barnes call him? An outstanding tactician, something like that, you know. But he's had a promotion. He's done stuff. He's obviously coached at Tottenham, coached at Man United as well. Carrick built a team at Middlesbrough that played good football, but ultimately it didn't get promoted. So there's even less evidence to give Carrick the job, right? Dyche, I don't know. Truth of the matter is, I don't know. That's the truth of the matter. I think I'm so underwhelmed by the thought of it. It's almost like my heart won't allow my brain to believe it. Does that make any sense? I just don't want. I don't want to believe. Do you remember we did that video recently? I want to believe, like that, the X-Files thing. I want to believe. I definitely don't want to believe this. I definitely don't want to believe. Right? It's the opposite of wishful thinking. Unwishful thinking, whatever it is. Right? Just pure disbelief. Nuno Espirito Santo, which just for the name would be good. Do I think that this guy could rescue West Ham? Yes. Do I think that West Ham would approach him? Yeah, quite possibly. But that's where it ends. I'm not sure West Ham would appoint him, and I'm not sure he'd accept the West Ham job. I'm going to give you my reasons why right now. Did he or did he not, or have I got this wrong, fall out with Marinakis? I know I got that right. That was very public. Did he have his nose put out of joint because I think Forest appointed Edu as director of football? Basically, they stopped letting him have as much input in the recruitment of players. I got that right, I think. We know that Nuno likes to be involved in the recruitment of players, right? If he got annoyed with Marinakis getting Edu involved, just wait until David Sullivan wants to start buying and selling players, right? So that is immediately I'm thinking, no, that doesn't want to work at all. All right, I just can't see that happening. From both points of view, I can't see Sullivan agreeing to letting him have control, and I can't see him allowing Sullivan to have interference. So from both sides, I'm even struggling to see how this interview process would work, right? Then factor in the whole favoured agents thing, right? Now, this was such a concern that the FAB put it on their vote and on no confidence. Stop using favoured agents. Well, no one does favoured agents quite like Nuno. Nuno wants to use George Mendes on every deal, if he can, every deal. That would be a problem, right? That's going to be an issue, and that's going to be an issue. Well, clearly from that point of view, and then clearly from David Sullivan's point of view as well, which is, does David Sullivan want to use his favoured agent? I don't know. But again, I just see it as another stumbling block. Certainly an area of criticism that's levelled against the board. So, you know, people are not going to want to see more of that, are they? I don't know. Maybe the fact that it wouldn't be Will Salthouse. I don't know, but I'm not even sure if that Will Salthouse did one deal in this summer. So I'm not sure how prevalent that is with him. I think all that's a smokescreen anyway. I think just the problem is David Sullivan getting involved. Anyway, the other reason is I think West Ham, for more or less, I know he's not up and coming. I think West Ham's just bad for your job. I think bad for your job prospects. I think unless there's one way I could see him doing it, and that is if he came in and he agreed to do it on 6 months. We're already in the bottom three, maybe, just maybe. And he does it and he walks away. Maybe he can enhance his reputation, but I don't think. David Moyes would argue. Let's make this point. David Moyes repaired his reputation. David Moyes was in the situation that Graham Potter was in, right? David Moyes failed at Sunderland. And his first stint, he repaired his reputation a bit. And enough for him to get offered the West Ham job a second time. He's completely repaired his reputation. So you can repair your reputation at West Ham, but you can also destroy your reputation at West Ham. And I think I don't know what you think. I think we might even be worse now than we were back then. Maybe we've just been terrible for the whole time under Sullivan and Gold and Brady, but it feels worse now. So I just think if I was Nuno, if you're Nuno, you know that you're going to get offered a job at some point, a good job and a Premier League job. You don't have to take the West Ham one. Something else is going to come around. And I think most people would agree that almost every club in the Premier League is better run than West Ham, right? Almost every club in the Premier League has a better infrastructure. For example, if I was Nuno, take my West Ham hat off, if I'm Nuno and I'm offered the Brentford job or the West Ham job, I'm taking the Brentford job because the infrastructure's there, right? How sad is that? How bad is that? I wouldn't take it. I know it might be sacrilege to say so, but I am just trying to look at it from a non-West Ham perspective here. So the truth of the matter is I can't see Nuno taking a job either. And I hope nobody's watching this on their phone or their computer saying, but who? Who? Gonzo, tell us who. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be the next manager. I don't know. I've got this list, and the list's next to. That's why I keep avoiding eye contact with you. I'm looking at my list. McKenna, no. Nuno, no. Jose, no. Lampard, I just don't believe anyway. Southgate and Dyche, I'm just really pleading and hoping that that's not the case. So I don't know, but it feels familiar. It feels not Harry Redknapp or Sam Allardyce, right? Because I just don't think they'd do that. I think they're but I do. There's just a part of me that does think that that's the way it will go. Something, not them, but something like that. No, not Tony Pulis, but you know what I'm saying. And when you start thinking like that, it does make you think of Dyche. But I've got the blinkers on. I'm trying not to look at me list now. I can see him there. It's written in me. I've got a fish pen, by you see that? Fish pen. My girlfriend got me this fish pen from Portugal. It is actually a pen. There you go. And written with this lovely pen is Sean Dyche. Don't believe it. Don't want to believe it. Won't believe it. But I do think I think he might be the most likely on that list. Nasty list. But I'm not so sure. Anyway, there you go. Well, they are my words, aren't they? As I did say, Graham Potter. Yeah, they are, sorry. But not because I know. Not because I'm in the know or any source or anything like that. Graham Potter, I do think Graham Potter will be sacked if we lose badly to Crystal Palace. But that's a hunch. But a source has said it. Hammer's new source. There you go. But I do have to say on their behalf, I don't think... I did notice in their article they didn't claim a club source. And it was reported on Twitter that it was a club source. But that's how I see that happen. That's happened all the time. I have literally been told things by a football agent before and then seen it on Twitter saying, a club source said, no, he didn't. It was nothing to do with it. But a good source, apparently. We can't know. Oh, it's a secret. I don't know. I haven't got a clue what their source is, but there you go. Anyway, Graham Potter, last chance saloon.